Iterators were first introduced in Go 1.23, to which the community responded with mixed reviews. Now in this mini-series I will just work with you together to implement a really simple iterator chain project. And in this first part we are going to look at the basic setup, including the map and filter functions. So let's just clarify the question, what even is an iterator in Go? I've made a video about iterators already, so feel free to check out or watch this video as well if you want to. But generally an iterator in Go is just a function that produces values one at a time without really creating the entire collection up front. The whole magic really happens through a function called yield. So whenever you range over an iterator, the Go compiler synthesizes a yield function behind the scenes that just invokes your loop body. And each time your iterator calls this yield function with a value, the control transfers back to the range loop, which executes the loop body with that value. Now you might wonder, why is that even powerful and why would I even use it? Well, it is memory efficient because these iterators generate values on demand, which is generally called lazy evaluation. This lazy evaluation just means that the operation does not get executed until you actually request values. And now the weird part is how these iterators are defined in Go. Now generally the iter package defines two iterator function types. The first one is this right here, which just yields single values, for instance like slice values. And the second one is right here, which just yields key value pairs like map entries or index value pairs. So let's just get into the creation of our iterator chain project here, and then you will actually see what the magic is behind these iterators and what is really going on under the hood. Alright, so right here we are in our simple test project, and what is important to note is that we are above Go 1.23 or on the version Go 1.23 at least, because then you won't have any issues regarding these iterators. Okay, I think the first step would be to introduce the API layout. So how do you actually want to call the map and filter functions? So we are going to introduce two examples here. The first one is a really basic chain, and what we're going to do is we are going to get a result back, obviously the transformed result, and then we are going to start with a from function. Now it is going to be really clear what all of these functions really do and mean in the end, but for now this from function really means that it is our kind of constructor for our kind of chain. And in here we are going to define a slice of integers. So let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and let's just say 8. And then we are going to call on this from function the filter function. Now I think this filter function is quite clear. We only want to filter something from the slice we defined right here. And this filter function expects a function basically as a function argument. So we can define the function right here as an argument. And then we have x, which is an integer right here. And it is going to return a boolean. And then we are just going to say return x modulo 2 equals to 0. Right, this is really simple. All this filter function really does, it is just filtering the even numbers. So for instance, 1 is skipped in this case and 2 is kept. Right, and then we can always call the map function here as well. Now this takes in a function here again with an integer, and it returns an integer, because remember the map function, all it does, it really transforms the values. And here we are just going to return x times 10, and then we are going to call dot collect. So after this filtering of the even numbers, we are going to kind of transform the even numbers. So in the end 2 becomes 20 and 4 becomes 40 and so on and so forth. And then this collect just pulls the trigger and runs the whole pipeline and just collects the values and then returns it. Then we're going to simply print the result right here. And that's our first example. Now let's just do another example. In this case, we are going to do more or less the same thing, but instead of using collect, we are going to execute ForEach. So let's just have this right here. We're going to remove the result because we really want that ForEach does not return anything. It just loops over the values and then you can do something with it. So we are just going to use the same slice here. Then we are going to say instead of modulo 2, we can also say x greater than 3. Then we are going to transform the filtered numbers to x times 2. And then instead of collect, we are going to call ForEach. Now in here, it's pretty similar. We are just going to define this function as an argument. And then it doesn't return anything. We are just going to print the value right here. Quite simple. Now clearly you can adjust the values right here of your slice as well, but what might be important to know here is that the slice type, which is an integer, it is also important right here that the parameter is also an integer. And this is our basic API layout. So let's just get started by defining the iterator struct and then just defining the from constructor. So what we can do is we can create the iterator right here. We are going to use generics and then we are going to define the struct. And in here as a struct field, we are going to say sequence or sec for short, and then iter.Seq, and then we are going to use as a generic parameter v. Okay, so what does this whole struct mean and what's the purpose of it? Well, this iterator is a generic struct wrapper around the iter.Seq, so the sequence, so we can just hang methods like map or filter on it. In this case, vAny is just a type parameter, and it really means this iterator can hold values of any type, so int, strings, or even custom structs. For the struct field specifically, this sec is the core engine, and it uses the specific type, iter.Seq in this case, and then v as a generic parameter. Now you can see the type definition right here, and it looks kind of scary, but all it is really, it is just a type alias. And when we use the iterator in a range loop through collect or ForEach, for instance, Go just calls our iterator function and passes in a yield function. And each time we call this yield with a value, we are just passing that value back to the range loop. The yield function just returns a boolean or a bool, and if it returns false, you should stop iterating. And this really happens when the loop just breaks early. I'll actually explain it later when we implement the filter method, because there it is really important. Okay, now with that in mind, we now have an iterator struct. Now let's just create our kind of iterator constructor, and we are just going to create a function here called from, and clearly this function takes in a generic parameter, which will be v again, of type any, and then we also have the source, which is of type slice, and then v, and then it just returns a pointer to an iterator, and we are going to pass in the generic parameter v here as well. Again, from just acts as our kind of constructor right here, and it takes a standard Go slice and turns it into our iterator. All right, and in this function, what we're going to return is just an iterator, and then we're going to pass in v here as the generic parameter. And for the value, so the struct field sec in this case, we're just going to use slices.values, and then we are going to use source here. So what does this really mean? Now slices.values is pretty much just a helper from the standard library. And all it does, it just effectively turns a static slice, in this case the slice v, into a streamable sequence of type iter.Seq, which we will in the end just store in our iterator. And then clearly we are just going to return it, so our new created iterator struct. Okay, let's just get our hands dirty with the first iterator function, which will be map in this case. So let's just create a struct function right here, and we are just going to name this map. Obviously, all it takes in as a parameter is just a function, and then we use v right here, and it is going to return v, and then it is going to return a new iterator with the generic parameter v. A lot of v's in here. Okay, so let's just explain this whole function definition right here. So map in general just transforms every value in the sequence into a new value. And it's important to note that for simplicity in this chain, we return the same type v, but normally map could change the type. So don't be confused by that. We are just going to simplify this map functionality. Also, what is important to note for all our kind of iterator functions is that this is going to use lazy evaluation. So it doesn't loop now, it just creates a plan to loop later. So we're going to return a new iterator right here, and all we're going to define in here is just a sequence function. And here we have now this yield function, and here really all this means is we are going to define how this new iterator behaves by writing a specific function. Yield in this case again is just a callback function provided by the Go runtime when we actually loop later. And we are storing a function in the sec field right here, and this function will be called later when someone does call collect or ForEach. So then we are going to loop over the previous iterator or the previous iterator values, and here we are going to use this range and then iter.Seq. And then what we're going to do, because we still have to call this f function right here, we still have to transform the value. We're just going to say if f and then v, right? So we take the value v and then we transform it using the function f, but then we also need to check the yield. So we yield the transformed value to the next stage, and yield again just returns a boolean, and if it returns false, it just means the loop was broken or kind of stopped downstream. So we must stop producing values right here. And we can do this by just saying not yield, and then we basically check this transformed value, or we pass in the transformed value. And then we just say break, and actually this is how break in the outer range kind of stops the iterator early. And here's actually how it works under the hood when you call this iterator.map function. So map just executes first. It just creates a new iterator with a new sec function and returns it immediately. Then the range loop calls this sequence and go invokes the returned sec function and passes in its own yield callback that will just receive the transformed values. Now inside sec you just range over the original iterator, which just gives you the untransformed values. So for each value we are just going to call this transform function to transform the value, and then we are going to call a yield function to pass the transformed value to the outer range loop. And last but not least, we have to check the return value. So yield just returns false if the outer loop kind of breaks early. So checking this just lets you stop iterating when the consumer stops consuming, if that makes sense. Now we missed a comma right here, but this is basically our map function. Quite simple if you just understand what is really going on with the iter.Seq in this case, or the yield function. But I hope that clarifies a lot of things. Now with that in mind, we can now create the filter function. So let's just quickly do this. Then we say filter, and this filter just should create a new iterator in the end again. So we say iterator right here. The generic parameter is going to be v again. It's important that this returned iterator or new iterator only keeps the elements satisfying a condition. And we are going to define this condition in this function parameter right here, or passed in as a function argument. And we are going to call this function parameter pred, and then the function definition looks something like this. So v again is here just a value, and it returns a boolean. Then again, we are just going to return a new iterator, and then we're going to define this sequence, which is just this function definition, quite simple. And then we are going to again define the logic for this step. So we are going to loop over the kind of iterator sequence, or the previous iterator sequence. And then we're going to apply the predicate logic right here. So we're going to say if not pred, and then we're going to pass in the value right here. We're just going to continue, right? So if the value does not really pass the test, we are just going to skip it and go to the next one. And if it passes, we just hand it over to the yield function. So again, if not yield v, we're just going to say return or break in this case, right? And here we are going to just stop if the downstream consumer says basically stop. I just forgot we can actually transform this break to a return here as well. For this specific logic, there's not much of a difference. And then this was it with our filter function. And all there's missing is just the collect function and the ForEach function. And both of these functions are really straightforward. So let's just define our collect function first. So we're going to say collect right here, and it just returns a slice of the generic parameter v. And then we're going to call slices.collect iter.Sequence, right? In this case, collect is just the terminal operation, and unlike filter and map, this actually triggers the loop to run. It just gathers all the results into a standard Go slice in this case, and slices.collect is just a standard library helper again to run any sequence and gather the values into a slice. And I think ForEach is quite simple as well. We are just going to define the iterator function right here as well. So ForEach, and then we obviously need a function as a parameter. Again, this ForEach is another terminal operation. It just should run the sequence, but it doesn't return a new slice, for instance. So it just executes the code for every item. And here we can just loop over our sequence and just call the function we passed in as an argument to this for each function. And here's the magic syntax, right? This range iter.Seq in this case is this magic Go 1.23 syntax. It just automatically kind of calls the underlying function we defined in map or filter and handles the yield logic for us. So we don't have to do anything crazy in here. Okay, and this was it. When we go back to our main function, we shouldn't see any weirdness or any errors, which is really cool. So let's just test this project by just hitting go run main.go. And there we go, it just works, right? Which is really cool. So we have 20, 40, 60, and 80, because remember, all we are going to do is we are going to filter the even numbers, and then we are just going to multiply this even number by 10. And then in the end, we are just going to call collect, which is this terminal operation, and it just kind of runs the whole operations and this whole chain with lazy evaluation in mind. And then we get 20, 40, 60, 80 back as a new result slice in here. And then again, we just have this slice right here, and the terminal operation in this case is just this ForEach function. And right here, we are just going to print the values. So in this case, it should be 4 to 10. And these values multiplied by 2, and we are going to print this in one line. So in the end, we get 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20 back. Now, hopefully you found this video kind of helpful and useful. If you are interested in an introductory video on these iterators in Go 1.23, feel free to watch this video right here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, have a lovely day, and bye bye.